Good morning, St. Joseph class, and a very happy Monday to you all. Now, how did you get on finding out the states of America, the 50 states of the United States of America? Do you know them all? Do you? What about those state capitals? They're a bit tricky, aren't they? Anyway, you've just discovered me. Actually, there's some breaking news before we go on to our learning. Breaking news in Mr. McCarroll's household this morning. Mr. McCarroll went to brush his hair and his hair actually moved. And that is the first time that has happened for a few weeks since I cut it, or had a close shave, shall we say. Anyway, with some clippers. Anyway, moving on. Native Americans. Let's have a look at what they mean to the history of the United States of America. I just wanted to show you what I've discovered so far as a way of introducing Native Americans to all of you. So I'm just going to grab this little fella again, moving him swiftly and promptly just here. You can see me. Hello, you can see my clock. You can see some shelves with some furry friend's legs hanging down. That's Henry the dog. Toy dog's legs, you can see there. Anyway, let's focus on the screen. The Native Americans. So what you're learning, what I'm learning, what we're learning together is what different sources can I use to find out about Native American life? So as a historian, because nobody who lived at that time is still alive, we need to use lots of different sources to discover exactly what life was like. So what sources can we use? First question, who were the Native Americans? Now, I'm sure you have ideas of who they were, like I have ideas of them. And we can see here, now that first picture, the one on the top left, I believe, is from Disney's Pocahontas. So, they're very much part of the American consciousness, or the way that they think of their land. Definitely a strong part of their history. But were they as they are depicted in those cartoons? Did they live life like those pictures would indicate? Let's have a think. So, who were the Native Americans? People had been living in America for thousands of years before it was discovered by Christopher Columbus. Now, he arrived in 1495. Now, when he arrived, he believed he had landed in India, and noticed that the natives were wearing a lot of red paint. Now, this is where the name Red Indians came from. Now, if you remember our book, which I just happen to have here, it's called The Indian in the Cupboards. That is where the term Red Indian came from. There were Plains Indians and Forest Indians who lived differently off the land around them. And their names clearly come from where they lived, what type of land formations they lived in. Tribes. Native Americans lived in tribes. Each tribe had their own customs, language, and history. There were over 30 different Plains Indian tribes. Tribes were split into bands, each containing a few hundred people. Each tribe had a chief as a leader, and a council of elders who discussed issues and problems. Most tribes had a medicine man who was very wise and could contact the spirit world. And as some of you have already been investigating and exploring, here we can see some Native American symbols, designs, and patterns. Again, we can see a map of North America here. And you can get some indication of where certain tribes would live. Or we can see Wichita. We can see the Apache Indians lived close to Wichita. But if you look in the very middle, we can see the Pawnee tribe. And I wonder if you can make out what are those animals right in the middle of the map. I'll have a closer look. Can you work out what they are? Can you see what they are? Because that animal was vital to the way of life of the Native American tribes, and it was the buffalo. Now, the buffalo was a wild animal that roamed native to the land of America as well, and became essential for the survival and development of the Native American culture. As you can see, they pretty much used every part inside and out of the buffalo to live and survive. So we can see the horns of the buffalo. They were used as cups, ladles, spoons, toys for the younger children, powder cups, and headdresses. The buffalo's tongue, believe it or not, was used as a hairbrush. Just like I didn't have my buffalo hairbrush this morning, but Native Americans would brush their hair with the tongue of a buffalo. And they'd also eat the tongue. I hasten to add, the tongue was out of a dead buffalo. They didn't try to brush their hair using a live buffalo. That'd be a bit tricky. The fur of buffaloes, moving on, was used for blankets, gloves, saddle covers for their horses, pillows because of its comfy nature, and how soft it is, and also used for ropes. Now the sinew, which is like a gloopy liquid that forms it's in part of the bone, and the bone structure. The sinew was used as glue, used in bows, think of the bows and arrows, and used for thread. And the bones of the legs were used as tools and knives. Now, the inside parts, the bladder of the buffalo, was used as a pouch. The stomach was often used as a container, a bucket, or even a dish. Now, the hooves of the buffalo, they melted them and actually turned them because the consistency became sticky. They were able to use that as glue. The tail of the buffalo were used as whips and tribal decorations. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, the dung. Buffalo poo was used and burnt as fuel, believe it or not. So the skin or hide of the buffalo were used for clothes, paint pouches, moccasins, remember the Native Americans' shoes in our story, saddles, bags, teepee coverings where they lived, drums, and for shields. And moving on, the flesh of the buffalo was eaten as food. It was either eaten raw, roasted, or dried. And finally, the brain of the dead buffalo was used as hide tanner, which was almost like a paint. It would give the hide a certain colour, a certain tone when it was used as paint. Now, the importance of the buffalo. I've actually found a really cool website, and I'd like to show you the website. It's got a couple of interactive resources and quizzes that I'd like you to maybe have a little look at, an exploration of, because these are two sources, going back to our will for today, two sources that we can use to discover about what life was like as a Native American. So hopefully if I just do this, and the first source is here. If I just press F11, I can go to full screen. So what can you make from a buffalo? Now you can remember, hopefully, from the PowerPoint that we just looked at. Now the idea is, I'll give you the web address of this website towards the end of this morning's video. Now for this interactive quiz, what you do is you choose the part of the horn. So part of the buffalo, I just chose the horn. Let's choose the horn. Then you're given a series of options. Now, what do you think was made from the horn. And then the idea is you click on what you think was made from buffalo horn. Now, I think I may click there. And if you are correct, it will indeed come up. And as it says here, correct. These spoons are made from buffalo horn and were used by the Blackfeet of Montana. Smaller spoons were used for eating and larger spoons were used for serving food. And you can click on explore another section. And similarly, you would click on ribs and try to click on what you thought was made from ribs, skin and fur, tail, hooves, and so on. Now, you still with me? Good stuff. Right, so we want to move on to tracking the buffalo. Once you've explored all of the things made from buffalo, if you click on this link up here, this one up here, tracking the buffalo, stories from a buffalo hide painting. If you go to this screen, it says here, you be the historian. So if you click on this one this time, you're given a replica of a buffalo hide. So you can see this is the tail here. So this is the skin of the buffalo. And often the skins of buffalo, the hide of buffalo, were used as canvases for ancient paintings that Native Americans would paint on. And this way, together, we're exploring using another source. Excuse me. So this hide is an electronic representation, but there are hides similar to this one, real hides with paintings on from Native American tribe times. And due to the fact that we can look at what they drew, what they painted, what different symbols they used, it can give us an idea of how they lived their lives. Now on this screen, the idea here is that if you click over here, it gives you the instructions. It says, click on a man riding a horse to find out more about the Indians and the buffalo. So you need to try to find the symbol. Let's have a look. Where is it? 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 I think it's here. So if you click on the symbol it's asking for, it will give you the information indicated. So what can you learn about the relationship between the Plains Indians and the buffalo from this picture? Consider these questions as you look at the hide painting. How many men do you see and what are they doing? How many buffalo do you see in this section of the hide? Remember, questions and answers are the best way to develop your mind as a historian. I'm just going to click back onto the hide. Now, these questions also come in the form of a handy worksheet. So if I just pop you back on here, I can show you the worksheet. Now, this is number one. There are two. There's a number one and a number two. I'll upload these so they're available on the tile, on Zap. And it goes through the same questions according to each section. So once you click on the man on the horse, there'll be the next section and the next section. The first question here, men on horseback. How many men do you see and what are they doing? So you look at the hide, the painting on the hide. I can see some men on horseback. They look as though they may be hunting or definitely looking for something. So we look for these clues, we move on. How many buffalo do you see in this section of the hide painting? Look at both sides. So you need to count all the buffalo. And then little by little, answer by answer, you should be able to work out more historical truths and accuracy and facts that really did exist and things that really did happen, so we get a proper, truer historical understanding of how the Native Americans lived. I'm just going to move you back. Just bear with me. So like I said, I'll add these sheets onto the tile for you. It's the second one. Nomadic Native Americans going on. As the Native Americans relied on the buffaloes for survival, they had to be nomadic. So nomadic means they didn't have one home, so they kind of lived on the move. This meant they followed the buffalo wherever they went because they were so dependent on the buffalo, as we've just seen. Now, a question for you: what sort of houses would the Native Americans need to live in? That's right, teepees. The Native Americans lived in teepees. Now, they had open flaps, which allowed smoke for the fire inside to escape. Some were decorated, other tribes left their teepees plain. The covers could be quickly taken down because you think about it, they had to live on the move and move very quickly sometimes. And teepee poles were used to form a sledge, which could be pulled by hand or horse. These were called a travois. Now, daily life. It was the job of the men to go hunting and fighting. It took a lot of skill to hunt a buffalo and was very dangerous, as you can probably imagine. They hunted on horseback using a bow and arrow. It was the job of the women to cook, clean, make and mend clothes and look after the children. How things have changed. I'm sure a lot of our girls would make very, very fierce Indian warriors. Native American warriors, should I say. And Native Americans in nature. Native Americans had the greatest respect for the natural world and believed that no one could own land, people or animals. So nobody could own the land around us. Nobody could own people or the animals. Earth respected them and gave them everything they needed to survive. So the next time you're out in nature, have a look around and just see what's all around us. So everything we actually need to survive is around. In turn, they respected the earth. They believed there were spirits in every plant and animal. Now, this is very beautifully spoken and depicted and told in a certain clip that some of you will be familiar with. It's from the film Pocahontas, and the song
You think I'm an ignorant savage
is The Colors of the Wind.
You've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? You don't know. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name.
So every rock, tree and creature has a spirit, has a life, has a name. I'll just show you. Like I said on a previous video, if you want to pause this, and if you want to watch the whole of The Colors of the Wind song, it has a very important message and a very detailed way of expressing the Native American belief that everything around us in nature is there to help us survive and has to be respected, and nothing can be owned. So the web address for The Colors of the Wind clip is there. The web address for the interactive activity on how the buffalo can be used in so many different ways is there. And it's the same link for the exploration of that painting, Native American painting on the hide. And the final link at the bottom is the website for the Smithsonian Institute, which is a very important museum in America. So I'll just show you that quickly. Now this is the Smithsonian Institute. As you can see, it says, welcome. The Smithsonian Institute is the world's largest museum, education and research complex. So this is the home of our Native American learning for today. If you wanted to pause there, you can have a last look at those web addresses. So a very full action-packed video again this morning, and I hope it's acted as a kind of exciting introduction to the lives and history of the Native American tribes and peoples. And so get learning, get discovering, and I'll see you again on Wednesday. Take care, and bye for now.